Good morning. I feel the need to whisper because it's quite early. Not that you can tell by this light. I do love the summer for the light, if nothing else. Hi, it's a Friday morning. I've been working since 5 because I'm at the hospital this morning, so I needed to get stuff done before I head out. When I asked if there was anything you wanted me to film, sit down video wise, lots of you asked if I would do a day in the life type video. So the other week I did one which was just spend a Sunday with me, which was just pottering around the house and getting stuff done, mainly to hold me accountable for getting all the things done in the house that I needed to. So thank you for joining me for that. But I think that most of you probably meant like a working day in the life, which I may do in the future, but I just don't think it's very interesting at the moment because I'm just at home and I'm just at my computer. So let's spend some time together today, but in a chatty way where I don't subject you to just endless time lapses of me at my computer, because I just don't think that's entertaining. And also we can do something exciting, which you will have seen by the title of this video. So this morning I've been up and doing subtitles for a video that I filmed for the Liverpool Festival of Reading, which is next week. I'm delivering some talks remotely on the history of fairy tales, and you know it's a subject that I enjoy, so that was a lot of fun to film. It was for GCSE and A-level students. So talking about the history of specific tales and how we can trace them through the centuries and all of the stuff that I adore. So I finished filming that and uploaded it overnight so that auto captions could be generated, and then this morning I've spent some time editing those. So I'm going to send that over to the festival this morning. And speaking of festivals, I do have 2 events coming up over the summer, both of which I will be attending remotely and you can attend remotely. So one is with the Society of Authors, and it's like a virtual afternoon tea. Sadly, I don't think any tea or snacks are provided. You have to bring your own, but they are not a requirement. Also, everyone who's viewing will have their cameras turned off, so it's just you seeing us talk. And I'm mentioning that because I know that many people don't enjoy Zoom meetings where there's Q&As, but you have to be visible. You don't have to be visible. Anyway, I'm talking about writing. I'm talking about writing books. I'm talking about the publishing industry. I will link that in the description box down below. And then at the end of August, and I should say BSL and captions are available for that event. And at the end of August, I'm doing an event at the Edinburgh Book Festival, and it's on retelling Rapunzel and looking at the history of Rapunzel. And it's with Ella MacLeod and Bryony Gordon. They're going to be there in person in Edinburgh. I am obviously not going to be there in person. You can attend in person at a venue that is fully wheelchair accessible, or you can stream it online, either live or available, I think, for a month after the event. Both the live and the streamed version, like the in-person and live streamed version, have captions. So I will link that in the description box down below too. Anyway, so today I've done about 3.5 hours work. I'm gonna get ready, go to the hospital, and on the way, it's not even a detour, it is on the way, I thought we could go somewhere. You could join me. So last Friday was the last time I was at a hospital appointment, and it was 35 degrees last Friday, and I ended up passing out on the tube. Part of my disability means that I can't regulate my body temperature. That was not a fun time. So wanting to avoid a whole situation like that today, I thought I would take the tube part of the way and then walk the rest of the way. It is much, much cooler today. It's about 10 degrees cooler, it's about 25 degrees. So that is my plan. And walking through the centre of London means that I will walk past Foyles on my way to the hospital. And I haven't been inside a bookshop for 2.5 years. I have stopped talking about that, like stopped talking about shielding online, because it's one thing doing it and it's another thing to talk about it, and it's just a lot to put that out on the internet. So I just stopped, and no one needs access to all of my medical information. So I'm thinking if I walk past it today and it looks very empty, because it probably will, because it's still early in the morning, then I may nip in. And it's making me think of doing a supermarket sweep. Did anyone used to watch that with Dale Winton? And was it the 90s? And I always just every time I went into a supermarket, I longed that someone would just say, by the way, you're going to do it right now. You have 5 minutes to get all of your shopping, go, and then race around with a trolley. So it's going to be like that, but in a bookshop. I just want to pop in for 5-10 minutes. The new Ottessa Moshfegh came out yesterday, and I would like to get that. And I miss bookshops in general, but I miss looking at tables and seeing books I may not otherwise see online. I mean, I work in publishing. It's not often that I come across books in bookshops that I have never heard of before, but books that maybe I had forgotten about. So I just want to nip in. I'll have my FFP3 on, nip in, and then continue on my way. And I thought, because I haven't done that in years, I looked at Instagram actually. The last time I was in Foyles was January 2020, and when I went in, I bought, because it was just before my birthday, Carmen Maria Machado's In the Dream House and The Other Bennett Sister by Janice Hadlow, both of which were two of my favourite books of that year. So let's hope that I can reproduce that today in finding books that I absolutely fall in love with, and then later I'll come back and I will talk to you about the books that I ended up purchasing. Question: how many books do we think I can buy in about 5 minutes? I'm gonna guess 5, but let's see how we get on. So I'm gonna go get washed and dressed. I'm gonna get ready to go. It is too hot for wigs, so it is headscarf weather, and insert a montage here of Foyles. Thank you. I'll see you when I get back. Do I get an award for guessing that I would buy 5 books when I'm the person who is entirely in control of that variable and outcome? Probably not, but I did end up purchasing 5 books. It was, I would love to say that it was a really emotional experience going into Foyles, and I was very happy to be there, and it did tug at my heartstrings, but also it was a bit overwhelming, really. I mean, it's a huge shop, and I didn't really want to spend too much time in there. So it was definitely a quickly look around and pick up some books that called out to me, and consequently, actually, all of these books I had heard of before, so I didn't discover anything very, very new to me, but they were books that I had on my radar for a while, perhaps had forgotten about, or had forgotten that they'd just come out. So that worked out really well. Also, I got to see my latest book in the flesh for the first time. It came out in October 2021, and that's The Sister Who Ate Her Brothers. You will have seen it, but I will insert the clip of it here. And actually, this is a new issue of the book because it's got the foiling with the quote from Neil Gaiman on the front, and I'd never seen that before because I haven't been sent a copy of that one yet. I just have the original, so that was really nice to see in the flesh. And I also saw a paperback copy of my book, The Bookshop Book, which I also hadn't seen in a bookshop yet. The hardback of that came out in 2014. It was one of my first books, not nearly 10 years ago, 8 years ago, but it is 10 years since my first book came out now, which is weird to think about. But yeah, I saw a paperback copy of The Bookshop Book in the flesh for the first time. That one came out last August, and I don't think I've shared the new introduction that I wrote for that unless I've completely blocked that from my memory, so I may share that towards the end of this video. Shall I show you the 5 books that I ended up purchasing? So I bought Lapvona, which was the reason that I wanted to pop in the first place. This is Ottessa Moshfegh's new book. It came out yesterday. It seems to be a bit of a departure for her. I mean, I think it's probably going to be gross and unsettling, as all of her books are. My favourite of hers so far is Death in Her Hands, but I haven't yet read Eileen. I've been saving that one, which was her debut. But this one is set in a medieval fiefdom, I believe, and it is about a motherless shepherd boy who finds himself the unlikely pivot of a power struggle, which puts him in a really difficult situation. So I picked up that one. Then this was on one of the tables, and this is one that I had been anticipating and forgotten that had just come out. So this is Nettleblack by Nat Reeve. Both of these were signed, which is, nice. And this is a queer Victorian novel. Can we have a moment for this cover first? Because I think that it is beautiful. Let me focus that back on me. Hi. So the back says it's set in 1893. It's about Henry Nettleblack, who has to act fast or she'll be married off by her eldest sister. So she has to leave the safety of her wealthy life and find employment in this mysterious organisation, which is part detective agency and part neighbourhood watch. So she disguises herself, she joins, and she's sent out to investigate a series of crimes, and soon realises that she's living in a small rural town that has surprisingly big problems. And at the bottom, it says that this is about finding your place in the world, challenging myths about queerness as a modern phenomenon, while exploring the practicalities of articulating queer perspectives when you're struggling for words. It has a map at the beginning. We know that we like a map at the beginning of a book. Now, this one I think is imported because I have looked for this before. Yeah, this is the US cover, and I mean, I know it has my name in the title, but I've heard that this book is really weird, a bit like Ottessa Moshfegh. So this is A Touch of Jen by Beth Morgan, and it's about 2 people called Remy and Alicia who are obsessed with this woman called Jen who they work with. So they stalk her on Instagram and they know everything about her life, and then they run into her one day and somehow get an invitation to her house in the Hamptons where they have to pretend not to know all of the details of her life. And I think it's going to be really twisted. It's supposed to be quite funny as well. So I have high hopes for this one. I have heard mixed things, but people who I tend to have similar tastes with seem to fall in the I love this book category. So fingers crossed I also bought this poetry anthology, which is called More Fire, and it's edited by Kayo Chingonyi, and this is a collection of Black British poetry. And I love anthologies, especially when it comes to poetry, because then it helps you discover writers that you may not have heard of before. So in here we've got poets that I already know and love, such as Raymond Antrobus and Jason Allen Passant, but there are lots of writers in here whose work I am not familiar with. So I'm very excited to read this and hopefully then have more poets that I can go and check out. And it was also lovely to see at the window of Foyles, which was dedicated to queer books because it's Pride Month, and at the front was 100 queer poems. This book here, which I'm part of and absolutely adore. So I was thrilled to see that that was right in the middle of the window display in Foyles. That was lovely. And then the final book that I purchased was this one here, which I admit was a little bit of a, I mean, I was going to say was a little bit of a flustered by, but I think all of these potentially were, but this one, there was a big display of it right near the new releases. And this is Beautiful Star by Yukio Mishima, and this is translated from the Japanese by Stephen Dodd. And I don't know, it seems like it's a really interesting novel, but then afterwards I was reading about the author's life, and that also just sounds ridiculous too. So this is the first time this book has been translated into English. It was first written in 1962, and it was a response to the Second World War and the atomic bomb, and it's about a family who come to the sudden realization that each of them hails from a different planet. The father is from Mars, the mother is from Jupiter, the son is from Mercury, and the daughter is from Venus. This extraterrestrial knowledge brings them closer together and convinces them that they have a mission to complete, to find others of their kind and save humanity from the imminent threat of the atomic bomb. So I don't know if this is one that I am going to really love, but I'm definitely intrigued by the premise, and I would like to check it out. So these are the 5 books that I bought today, and I don't want them sitting on my shelves for a hugely long time, so maybe I'll do a reading vlog of some of these in the not too distant future. I'm currently recording a reading vlog where I'm reading some of the shortest books on my TBR because as you know, in May I didn't read anything, and this was a way to kind of kickstart my reading again. I haven't been in a reading slump, I've just been very sick, but when I get out of the habit of reading, I find it really difficult sometimes to get back into that habit. So reading a few short books was a way to get me out of all of that, and so far it's working. So that'll be a video that's coming up soon. Then of course we are halfway through the year nearly, so I'm going to be talking about everything I've read so far this year, and then doing a video about my favourite books of the year so far. So let me know if you would like me to do, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, a day in the life, which is a work related video talking to you about the things that I'm doing, like the books that I'm writing, the editing work that I'm doing, the consultancy work that I'm doing with publishers, because I do quite a lot of that now. But know that I kind of can't go into the specifics of those things because I'm editing books that other people have written, and the books that I'm writing I'm probably not allowed to talk about in detail yet. But if you're more interested in how I block out time throughout my day, and all of the different, I guess, genres of work that I do within publishing, then I can definitely do that. And then I can also throw in clips with you know, cooking and all of that stuff, which I obviously get up to during the day as well. I just ran into the other room to grab a copy of the Bookshop Book, the paperback edition, because as I said, I don't think that I've read the introduction to you, which is super short, and I wrote it when this book was issued in paperback last summer, so I just thought I'd quickly read it to you. If you're looking for a book about bookshops all around the world, you might want to check it out. It warms my heart to be writing this introductory note to the paperback edition of the Bookshop Book. This love letter book of mine was first published 7 years ago when I was working in an antiquarian bookshop in North London. These days I spend more time writing books than selling them, but everything I do is still entirely book related. Since the initial publication of the Bookshop Book, the book industry has continued to grow and change like the living organism it is. Audiobook sales have soared, and bookshops have had to battle against the pandemic, posting books out to readers to help them get through the darkest times. Of course, some new bookshops have opened and some have closed. As I write this, Persephone Books is getting ready to leave London for Bath, taking a little piece of my heart with it. A bookshop I've since discovered that has made me smile is the Kettebrana, a bookshop in a taxi which can be found trundling through the streets of Turan. Comfortingly, some things have not changed. You can still find Sean terrorising the book lovers of Wigtown, and for those wondering, Sarah did take her book barge across the sea to France. Keeping a text like this up to date with all the world's bookish changes would be pretty much impossible, so please enjoy this book as it's intended, as a series of snapshots. Seeing photographs of my poem from the beginning of this book, bookshops are time machines, spaceships, story makers, secret keepers, dragon tamers, dream catchers, fact finders and safe places, written on chalkboards outside bookshops all around the world, celebrating the reopening of bookshops between lockdowns has been such a privilege and has made me more than just a little bit emotional. Bookshops are portals to other worlds and we need them now more than ever. Sending all my love. And to end on a somber note, as I was editing the first part of this video, I saw the overturning of the Roe versus Wade coming in, and the thought of how this is going to impact people, not only just abortions, which is obviously bad enough in and of itself, but how it trickles into other areas of healthcare, and it's going to impact obviously miscarriages and also IVF as well. And it's just, I don't really have the words right now, and I know that books can't solve everything, but they're often good starting points when our brains feel like mush. So if you would like a recommendation, another one, here's a poetry collection called She Will Soar, bright, brave poems of freedom written by women. It's edited by Anna Sampson. It's got amazing poems in here from women throughout the centuries. And I also have a poem in here myself, which is not why I'm recommending it. I think the collection is great, but copyright wise, I'm allowed to read mine, though I'm not allowed to read other people's unless they're out of copyright. But let's end on that. Where is it? I feel like I have recommended this poem in particular, or felt the need to read this poem far too many times in recent years, but here we are again. December. Hope in jars, it lines the shelves. We hug it close to warm ourselves. It's admirable to cling to hope, protest, protect, go out and vote. And when, in the morning light, this hope of ours does not shine bright, we coax it back, we mourn, we fight. I love you all very much, and I'll see you soon.